Gary Stearman. Time for another Prophecy in the News Daily Update. This one being made on the 30th of August for release on the 3rd, Labor Day. Hope you're enjoying your Labor Day weekend. And Avi Lipkin, as promised, has consented to spend a little bit more time with us. And Avi Lipkin is an expert in the Middle East, affairs in the Middle East at virtually every level. And Avi, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Today, Avi told me that he wanted to talk to you a little bit about Saudi Arabia. Everybody knows about Saudi Arabia. They have sheikhs and they have oil. And what else do they have?
They have a war going on within the Saudi kingdom between forces loyal to the king and the Al-Qaeda. And by the way, the Al-Qaeda, who are infiltrating from Yemen, are Saudi trained. These are loyal sons of the Saudi kingdom who were told by the king of Saudi Arabia over the last 20, 30, 40 years, you are holy sons of Islam, and we want you to be Al-Qaeda, and we will give you money, and we will send you away to fight for Allah in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iraq, and in Syria, and in Lebanon, and fight the Christians, and fight and fight and fight. Now what happens is, meanwhile, the king of Saudi Arabia is doing business with America. And America supposedly was the great Christian Satan. And so these Al-Qaeda are chickens coming home to roost. And they come back to their kingdom and they say, look at what our king has taught us. He has taught us to be Al-Qaeda, to be loyal to Allah, but he himself is not loyal to Allah.
You know, as you talk, I remember that the late Osama bin Laden actually was a son of Saudi Arabia, and he was a millionaire, right?
They all are. They all are. These are people who are, the king of Saudi Arabia says, you want to be Al-Qaeda? Terrific. God bless, Allah bless you. But just don't do it here in the kingdom. Go export the terrorism to all the countries of the world, but here in Saudi Arabia, you're not going to do it. Now, Saudi Arabia has 40% unemployment rate. The Saudi economy, in spite of the value of the oil monies that they receive, they have nothing else. They have no agriculture. They have no industry. There's no work. And the country's a mess. And you know who does all the work in Saudi Arabia? Hindus from India, Catholics from Philippines, and Westerners who come for the oil companies. This is what the Caldwells told me. The Muslims themselves don't work. They have all the slaves to work for them. So there is a great dissatisfaction today in the kingdom, and a lot of people who truly are becoming born-again Muslims in the sense of, you know, loyal to Allah, they're going to see their own king as the biggest traitor and hypocrite in the world.
So in other words, they are rich kids looking for some form of reality, something they can cling to, and they're clinging now to militant Islam.
Very correct. And that the king is a heretic and a hypocrite, and he's not a real Muslim.
Wow. So I guess what Avi is saying is that Saudi Arabia could implode at some time in the near future.
Yes, and I, of course, discussed this in my 6th book, and that is what is going to lead eventually to an international occupation of Saudi Arabia and the Emirates and Iran, because when these Al-Qaeda say, hey, the way to destroy Christianity is to destroy the economy of Christianity, the world economy. The way to destroy the economy is to deny them the oil, therefore blow up the oil wells. And the one world government harlot riding the dragon is going to say, no way, Jose. And these oil wells will have to be occupied and secured by Western forces.
The book of which Avi speaks is called Return to Mecca. Use your geography just a little bit, summon up that old junior high school geography, and remember that Mecca and Medina are on the western edge of the great Saudi Arabian desert, in the land that used to be called Midian in the old days of the Bible. And there is a real Bible story there, the real prophetic mystery, and Avi has written about it. I think you've got a great story there.
Well, this 6th book, many people have said to me, is the best of my 6 books. And of course, you need to read all 6 books. But this is the cream of the crop. And a lot of people have said to me that this is basically also the solution to the other 5 books which showed the threat of Islam. In other words, I'm always looking, well, what do we do about it? You know, what do Jews and Christians do to save Israel, to save America, to save the human race from the threat of Satan, Allah?
You know, it occurs to me this would be a great time for you to pick up that book that's at your left hand there and talk about Israel's Bible block, because you're talking about solutions. What can be done about the situations that have developed in the Middle East today. And I must say that Avi has some great ideas that concern the Israeli parliament called the Knesset.
Yes, well, indeed, Israel has many, many different ethnic groups. We have Jews, we have Christians, we have Muslims, we have Druze, which are another group. And it's interesting that the Arab population of Israel is 20%, and most of which are Muslim. The Muslims have members of Knesset in our Congress, in our Knesset. Mm-hmm. The Muslims are represented, and they are sworn to destroy Israel. Islam is sworn to the killing of every Jew on Saturday and the Christian on Sunday. And they are represented in the Knesset because they represent a constituency. Yeah. Now, what happened is that we had a 2% Christian population, which was Arab Christian.
Wow.
And half of the 2%, 1% were Catholic, half were Greek Orthodox. And in certain ways, they're like other Arabs in that they're very clan-based. They're very divisive against each other. And so they were never able to put together a political party that would represent Christian interests in the Holy Land. Meanwhile, 20 years ago, with the collapse of the Soviet Union and Soviet communism, 1 million Russians came home to Israel, of which 30% were Christian. These were Christians married to the Jews, so they came home as immigrants. And so today the Christian population is no longer 2%, but 8%. So 6% of the Christians of Israel are Russian, Ukrainian, and Ethiopian immigrants who serve in the Israeli army, pay taxes, and vote, and yet they are not represented in the Knesset, the Israeli Congress.
And so you have developed this idea called the Bible bloc, a bloc being a political party, if you will, a representative bloc that would stand up for this previously unrepresented group.
Right, and so it would be 2% Arab Christians, 6% immigrant Christians who serve in the Israeli army, pay taxes, and vote, and another 6% of the population, which are the Jews, who are married to the Christians. This will not be a Christian party. It'll be Judeo-Christian, Western civilization, and democracy. And to bring the values that made America great 200 years ago, those values, that's what we're going to bring to Israel. And the reason I'm doing this is because I believe in the end times, and this is the end times. This is prophecy in the news.
Certainly.
As the Muslims reach 100 million here in America, which is Obama's plan, to bring in another 100 million Muslims from these Middle Eastern countries, which all collapse. After they kill the Christians, the economies collapse. So the Muslims will come here. When the Muslims come here, they're going to kill the Jews, and they're going to kill the spouses of the Jews, and we're going to see a tsunami of 5-10 million Jews and Christians moving to Israel, and this political party will represent the immigrants. So the party will be based on Judeo-Christian Western civilization and society, and of course the Old Testament, which Jews and Christians agree about. Christians will be free to believe in the New Testament. Jews will believe in the Talmud, as in the past. Now, together we will form a great alliance in Jerusalem.
This is more than just an idea on paper. This is something you're working toward, right?
Yes, we have, in summer of 2012, we have 70 signatures out of 100. Our lawyer is Caleb Myers, who many of your viewers already know who he is in Jerusalem. He's a Messianic activist and also lawyer, and he's registering my party. I'm going back, God willing, next week. That's why it's so important for me to do these shows that we've been doing.
Yes.
And complete the other 30 signatures. You need 100 signatures to register the party, and we need probably $40,000 to register the party, and probably $500,000 to $1 million is an operating budget for the next elections in Israel, which will be November 2013. So
is it possible, he asked, is it possible that we could see Avi Lipkin, MK, member of Knesset?
Very correct. And if indeed we see eventually the move to Israel of 5-10 million Christians and Jews to Israel, this political party will be the #1 party in the Knesset. So if I'm alive, draw your conclusions.
Well, God bless your work. God bless your efforts. And by the way, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, Psalm 122:6, but pray for the peace of Israel too, surrounded by a roiling mass of people who would like to crush Israel to pieces, but protected by God. And of course, our heart is always with Israel. Say
Amen.
Hello to your son Aaron for us.
Yes, I
We
will.
enjoyed having him here.
Yes, well, I wish, he even said he needs to come back again more, but I think he's going to be so busy with the groups that are now pouring into Israel. That, and our tourism increases every year by 10%. So every year we have a new record tourism in Israel.
The book is called Return to Mecca. You've got the 800 number on your screen right now. You've got our Prophecy in the News library at your fingertips right there on your computer. Browse through it and you'll find Avi's other 5 books as well. And I think you'll find them all very interesting reading. Avi, Godspeed. Have a great trip back to Israel. Say hi to everybody there. Say hi to your beautiful wife.
Thank you very much. I will. And we're waiting for all of you to come to Israel. I think JR Church, Prophecy in the News, this should be bringing a pilgrimage group to Israel very soon.
We would love to do it.
Yeah.
And by the way, we ask you all to pray for Avi and his enterprises there in Israel. Very valuable, a very valuable connection between the Jews and the Christians in today's Israel. Gary Stearman. Keep looking up, everybody.